Hi, Tseliso. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Preetesh?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us today. Just waiting for Susie and Sneh as well, who will be joining us. But also welcome to everyone who are joining us today for our next part of Loeries Nigeria Week. So this week's been a focus on Nigeria and meeting the amazing people, amazing creatives across Nigeria through the platform of Zoom and through this digital platform. We had a fantastic chat yesterday with some amazing gentlemen, and that's going to be concluding tomorrow. So please, if you have not signed up for it as well, tomorrow we're speaking to His Excellency Tamiam Saleko, the ambassador to Nigeria from South Africa, who's based in Abuja, who's going to be sharing a lot more about the creative ecosystem and some of the learnings that he's had over there. But today, our key focus is going to be on how to actually enter the Loeries and what judges are looking for in the Loeries itself. And before I go into introducing our special guest, Tseliso, let me just highlight, I think one of the key important things that we've been highlighting is that entries are free this year. For the first time in our history, the Loeries are making the entries free. And that's largely because of the challenges of COVID-19. We're working on ways that we can support the industry across Africa and the Middle East and ensure that we can get some of the best entries and have a record of the challenges that this year has posed to us, but also in terms of the opportunities that we've been able to find in the communication space to better communicate with consumers and societies and ensure that valuable messaging goes forward. So as I mentioned, today we have Tseliso Rangaka, who is the Chief Creative Officer of FCB Johannesburg and Hello Computer. We're honored to also have him as the chairperson of the Loeries. So good to have you on, Tseliso. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Preetesh, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Yeah. Also to assist me with some of the questions and some of the queries that you may have, we have Susie Bowling, who's the COO of the Loeries, and Sneh Kumalo, who's from the production team, who'll be able to give you much greater insights in terms of how you actually get your entries in as well. But maybe I think the first part is passing it on to Tseliso. You have great insights, Tseliso, in terms of judging at the Loeries and judging at a number of different awards itself. And I think one of the key things that people are looking for, and it's the reason we're doing this today, is try and understand what is the secret? What are judges actually looking for when you judge all of this work?
Sure. I think the most important thing is to remember that your target market is different. So while your campaign may have had a very specific target market and speaking to consumers and users of your product or service, when you're entering awards, your target market becomes the judges that are on the panel. And that means you need to consider how you reach them, emotionally, as well as, with the facts that you present. So, and that's a big mindset shift for a lot of creative people and agencies is just distinguishing between the target markets. Judges, the first thing they look for in any creative award is innovation. Is the idea new? Does it move the industry forward? Is it something that is surprising, that is unique? There needs to be something about it that that is different. And we know that, these days it's quite hard to arrive at anything that is new, but it is the job of creative agencies and their clients to find those links between two things that may exist, but are in completely different spaces, and draw that line between them to create something new. So that is the most important thing in any creative award.
Sorry, yeah.
No,
Sorry,
carry
go
on.
for it. No, I said
No,
I was. No, you go for it first, and then I'll go after that.
no, I was just going to go into the rest of the things, but I think let's treat it as a conversation, because there are a few things specifically that the Loeries judges are looking for, and I wanted to kind of isolate those on their own.
Okay, that's great. So I think maybe for me, as I hear you speak, and I'm sure lots of people are thinking about this as well, is having this mindset shift to understand that you've got a different audience. I mean, how do you actually do that? Because I think when a lot of people enter work, they go, the judges are part of the target audience. I mean, they may be selling a commodity and go like, obviously, or maybe selling a laptop, or maybe selling something and go like, obviously the judges are part of my target audience. They're definitely going to get this at face value. How do you ensure you delve deeper? What are some of the tools and some of the ways that you can show you can delve deeper, especially considering, as you're aware, that due to the challenges of this year, one of the things that we've recommended is that case study videos are not necessarily compulsory. You don't have to enter your case study videos this year. So how do you do it in this type of climate and ensure that you're able to effectively translate what you're doing into a way that the judges would appreciate?
Okay, that's a very good point. So you are right. The judges are a target market separately outside of that room. But when they're in a judging panel and are judging a specific category, you know, they take their consumer hats off and they put the hat of a creative judge with very tight parameters around what is good in that category. So one of the things that I recommend is that agencies go and look at the categories that they want to enter in, and make sure that the work that they're entering speaks to those judges. Now, sometimes it's difficult for the work to speak directly to judges because it's meant to speak to consumers. And that's where usually case studies would come in and help. However, you know, there are write-ups that you can send in with your entry to explain why it is the perfect entry into that category so that the judges from the beginning are nodding in agreement with what you're saying. And it just helps. It's just a way of going, hey, I recognize that you are a judge in the PR category, and you know, this is a great campaign in PR because of these reasons.
Great. I also want to say, we have a lot of great people joining us. So we appreciate everyone whose time you've given up to be with us today and get these great insights. Just want to quickly say hello. Choose a few names randomly. Daniel Navarro, Duni Ogunsanya, Farrell West, Julia Beninka, Gustav Grefrat, just a few people, Jane Equera. So what's amazing is, as even though this is part of our Loeries Nigeria Week program, it's amazing to see that there's many people from across Africa and the Middle East who are joining as well. So thank you everyone for joining us for part of this. In terms of actually ensuring that if you cannot enter a case study video, or you choose not to enter a case study video because of the challenges of the year that you have, and you put it in writing and you do a write-up, what are some of the key things that you need to consider in terms of the write-up? What are some of the things that judges look for in the written text when you're explaining your work?
You know, every creative campaign is solving a problem. So you need to state what problem you are solving first. And then I think you need to highlight the insights that you used to solve that problem. And it needs to then, link up to the work that you've done in solving that problem. But what you need to also demonstrate is how you've solved it within the category. So for example, if you are, again, in the, PR campaign category, you need to show how you used PR in order to answer that question. And each category will have its own metrics, or how it's measured. And that's what the judges are looking for. So a judge that is judging film will be looking for very specific things that pertain to that category. A judge that is judging PR or radio, in fact, each category, they will be looking for specific things. So what you need to do is go and look at the categories before you enter, find out what those key metrics are that the judges will be looking for. I find it also helps to look at who the judges are, because you get a sense of the people you are talking to. You can see if it's a younger group of people. Is it a more diverse group of people? Are you speaking to judges that are predominantly women? All of those things affect the way in which your message would land. So just like you would channel your messaging according to specific target groups, you need to treat the judges as that. In the absence of a case study, and this is kind of how we always used to do it, old school, you set up what the problem is, how you approached it, and you show the results. And for the rest of it, really, the work needs to fill in those gaps. It needs to lead that entry.
Fantastic. One of the things that we also have, Tseliso, I don't know if I can bring this up in Scheme so that you can give us some insights on this. The Loeries have a interesting presentation, which I'm going to put up, and it's called "How to Bring Home an Award." And maybe you can give us some insights in terms of this process. And I think this speaks to a lot about what you're actually talking to, but maybe you can give us some insights about, again, further elaboration in terms of the jury being your target audience.
Sure. I mean, I think we have kind of spent quite a bit of time here, but I think it's also important that you make sure that your work stands out, among all the entries, because we typically judge in 2 rounds. The first round will have attracted a whole lot of entries, and it means that the judges are going through a lot of stuff just to arrive at the ones they feel deserve an award. So it's really important to get them at this point. Round 1 is important to go through, and you do that by, like I said, mentioning what your category is, making sure that you are in the right category first of all, and then backing that with the work and the insight and the results. So I think we can talk to the next point around how one can bring a Loerie home.
And obviously, as you mentioned as well, very important is to know your metrics and know what the jury is looking for.
Absolutely. So there are 2 sets of metrics. There are metrics that pertain to the category. So your campaign needs to have met those metrics. So if it was, publicity, or if it was sales, your campaign needs to have satisfied that in order, first of all, to be considered, as award worthy. That's important. Now, once you've entered it, the judges are looking for specific things, and there are 5 important things that the judges are looking for.
Move on to that. Yes.
So the first is innovation. As I mentioned, it is what the Loeries has always been about. It's about work that is at the forefront of creativity within a business context, and it needs to move the category forward. And typically judges will award work that stretches the category beyond where it's been before. So work that is brave within the print category and is as new and is innovative within that medium will be rewarded. And the same goes for every other category. So that is the number 1 thing. There is no Loerie that gets awarded without number 1 being reached. Now, once you've got that sorted out, it's important to back it up with excellent execution, by which I mean craft. So, the way you put together the work needs to also push the boundaries in terms of how it's executed, because a great idea, can live or die by how it is executed. For example, you take any famous speech in history, you give it to somebody who's going to deliver it in a way that, is not the way, for example, that I'm going to use the Martin Luther King speech. You give it to anybody, and if they don't deliver it and put in the craft and execution and delivery, it's not going to have the same effect. So craft is really, really important. It is the thing that helps your idea, break through the clutter. And then the next thing that is really, really, really important to make sure that you land is that it needs to be relevant to the brand. Innovation on its own that is not linked to anything, that is not helping the brand move forward, is not a good thing in our business. And the judges that are looking at these categories are looking for relevance to the brand. Can it only be this brand that does it? It needs to feel like it belongs there. So for example, if I may use a campaign, like a Coca-Cola campaign, Share a Coke, and that campaign where, people could write their names on cans. That's a campaign that, feels like a Coca-Cola campaign. It makes sense to come from Coca-Cola. And indeed, probably Coca-Cola is the only brand that would have done that. So it needs to be absolutely relevant to the brand. Now, the other thing is, once we've done that, the other check is it relevant to the target audience? Now, target audience keeps coming up a lot, but that's because we're talking to people, and people like to feel like they're being spoken to on a one-on-one basis versus a mass. And the way to do that is through relevance. So the same thing needs to be applied here. So is your idea innovative? Is it really well executed? Is it relevant to the brand? And is it the right thing for the brand to be saying to the target audience? Because if you don't get that right, then you don't get the results, you don't get the sales, you don't get everything else that will help your idea eventually, land that award. And then the last thing, which is also very, very important, is, is the idea relevant to the medium that you've chosen? So Share a Coke, for example, on a billboard doesn't really make sense as an idea. It makes sense on the cans because people exchange them, because, when you walk into the store and you see a can with your name on it, you're more likely to buy that one. You see a name of your friend on a can, you're more likely to buy your name and their name so that you can go and show them. So medium is important, it's paramount. And in fact, that is why advertising categories for awards are split up according to those. Radio and audio, those things mean that these campaigns are going to run on specific mediums. And it's really important to have a campaign that fits the medium that you've chosen. So, not as you'll notice, doing only one of these things right, or maybe even two, is not going to help. You have to nail all 5 of them. It's really, really important. And I think the campaigns that always come up tops are the ones that do that really, really well. A brilliant idea, well executed, that fits the brand perfectly, that speaks to the target market in a way that is relevant to them, and that is delivered on a medium that is relevant to that message. And if you do those things, your chances of winning in any award, not just Loeries, increases exponentially.
That's great. Mr. On to next in terms of this is the starting with a good idea. How important, obviously, we know this is really, really important, but can you share about why it's so important to ensure that when you're actually entering work, that you've got work where the idea was absolutely brilliant, it was a perfect idea, and speaking to how you cannot fix that actually?
So a creative director I once worked with said to me, you will spend as much time and pain and sleepless nights working over a good idea as you will over a bad idea. And it's important that you know the difference. So when it comes to awards, it's really the ideas that are at the forefront that the judges are looking for. The ideas that are there to be awarded need to be ones that we haven't seen before. They need to be ones that say something to the industry, and the judges go in there and they typically will have a jury president that will brief them before they start judging. And a lot of those briefings are really to sharpen the jury and to make sure that the ideas they choose are really the ones that push the boundaries. So it's always a good measure to look at the work that you are entering versus work that's won in the categories before, to go, okay, if I had entered this thing at the time that these ideas were being judged as well, how would my work have done? And it will give you a benchmark, because you know, if you then do that and feel that your work would have stood a chance, then it means that it's likely to stand a better chance. And agencies sometimes do this, and it's I have to say it because I'm an agency person. Sometimes we enter as much as we like, as we want, because we want to maximize our chances. And as the Loeries president, as the Loeries chairperson, it's something that I would say we welcome. But the truth is, actually, it doesn't matter, you know, if the Loeries attracts a lot of entries if those entries don't help celebrate the best of what African creativity is. So it is also, you know, important to us as the Loeries to make sure that the ideas that win are ones that are clearly head and shoulders above the rest. So that idea is really important. And also remember that you're competing with people and other brands and other agencies from all over the continent and the Middle East. So it's really important to put your best horses in the race. And some ideas, for example, will allow you to enter, some ideas are able to be entered into different categories. And I think it's better to have a strong, good idea that you can put in the right categories, multiple categories, than have weak ideas that you can put everywhere, because the chances are, you know, those ideas are not going to convert.
Tseliso, as you're speaking, I was actually thinking it's also a sense of self-awareness you need to have as well, right? Because I think it's probably like having your children, your ideas that you then take and you transform into creative execution. It's like your children. It's very hard to decide and look at it and say this was not a good idea. How do you do that? I mean, in terms of, I think everyone looks at it and goes, "Oh, my work's amazing. I've done fantastic stuff. Everything's great." Do you have any advice in terms of how do you actually internalize this and actually look at this and have this like journey of introspection to understand whether you're entering a good idea and whether your work really is a good idea or not?
It's a very real problem, Preetesh, because as you say, we get you know, very, very attached to our own ideas, and we become subjective, and that's the thing. I think, you know, one way to create that distance from yourself and the idea is, as I said, to look at work that's out there that has been winning. That is one way to do it. And it will force you to kind of look at it with a little bit of objectivity in it. The other way to do it is to ask other people what they think about the idea, you know, and get a sense of whether or not they see what you see in it, before you move on with that idea. So it's really important, even within agencies and agency teams. Sometimes it's really important that all the work goes up on the wall, and that different teams get to look at other teams' work, and are able to comment on that work. And you'll find that usually that makes the work better. So I think creating distance from you know, your own ideas allows a little bit of objectivity into it, and you're able to play judge and jury, and kind of have a better sense of whether to enter an idea or not.
Great, thank you. That helps. That helps quite a bit. In terms of explaining your entry, as you said, one of the challenges we have is because of COVID-19 and just the immense amount of strain that the agency environment has been placed under this year. One of the things that we're recommending is that you don't necessarily need that full-on case. If you don't have your case study video, don't enter it. If you have one, enter it. But how do you then better explain your entry? Could you go into this and elaborate for us on this point, please?
Sure. You know, I've seen a lot of agencies work really hard on an idea and then let it down when it comes to entering, because they are assuming that the judges know what the idea is about, and they know what it, what the whole story behind it. I encourage people to give the judges as much information as they can about what that idea is. If there is a strong local insight in there that the judges may not pick up on, you need to make sure that they see it, because it will help. Typically what happens is that we are only allowed to judge based on the information that is presented either on your case study or on your entry board. This is besides the idea itself and the execution. So I would urge everyone to back your idea and give it the best chance. And the only way to do that is to give as much information as you can that is relevant to that category. You need to explain the idea also, because you've got judges in that room that come from very different backgrounds, and they may not get the nuance that makes that idea magic. So you need to make sure that you are able to explain it so that, in the absence of you being in that room, your entry board should speak for your idea with the same passion and the same clarity that you would have if you had been in the room.
Great. And I also think, one of the actually, as I said, with case study videos not being compulsory, it also allows you to test your innovation as well. It's an exciting opportunity to see how innovative you can be to explain the cultural, geographic, or whatever the specific nuances is in an innovative way without necessarily relying on the tools that you're used to. So I think that's going to be exciting. I'm very excited to see the work come through.
Absolutely, Preetesh. And as as you're saying that, I can see, a few interesting ways that people could package their work so that, it stands out, even if it's just at face value from the other work around it. And that is what we as agencies do, and creative people, is that we've got to create space for our ideas to outshine the ones that are next to them. So it is a challenge, but I think that, agencies will rise up to it, and we'll see some really interesting ways of circumventing that case study when we get to the judging.
And I guess as you think about it, it takes us straight into point 5, which is that whatever you do put forward, you need to keep your entry simple, clean, and professional. What are some things that stand out for you when you think about simple, clean, and professional entries?
So I'm just trying to think of the kinds of things that disadvantage work. So I think it's the basic things. It needs to be really clear what your intention is with the entry. It's not fair on the work or on the judges for them to try and figure out, where the work needs to be sitting, and whether you've entered it in the right category or not, and try and try and put pieces of information together that don't make sense in order to speak for your work. I think your entry needs to do all of that. But also, your entry represents what your agency stands for. So it needs to have the hallmarks of what your agency believes in. So it represents you, and you need to make sure that when you're in that room, or when your work is in that room, it speaks to your values and your professional ethos, so that it is not disadvantaged. Some of the things that I've seen happen is people entering the wrong work in the category. So if it's a radio category, make sure that the radio spot that you enter is the right one. It's not up to the judges to go back to you and go, listen, sorry, the radio that you entered is actually not the one for this brand, it's for another one. So just make sure all of that stuff is sorted. What you really want to do is ensure that the judges spend as much of their time engaging with your work, taking it in, and not be guessing what it is that you're trying to say. You need to give them as little admin as possible so that nothing gets in the way of your idea. And the entries can go into the thousands sometimes.
Yeah.
And I have seen, judges just give up out of frustration, trying to decipher what an entry is trying to tell them when they've got 1,000 other entries. We have to give the other ideas as much of a chance as possible. So be aware of it, and really, I think thinking of your idea, as I said, as a representation of what you stand for as an agency in that room, should give you a pretty good idea of the level of professionalism that is expected of the entries.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tseliso. I mean, and just in terms of the categories, these are just some of the categories that that people have to answer. We had a good chat yesterday with some amazing gentlemen from TBWA concept and from Noah's Ark in Nigeria. And one of the categories they said is that they had an interesting point. You could hack the awards and try and enter categories like the fabric design and the design categories and stuff like that. So I found that very interesting that that's what they said. But just in terms of trying to understand that some categories that you'd love to see more creativity or more work in, categories where there's a lot of potential for people to share more of their work, which categories would you highlight as some of those categories that are opportunities?
My view is out of home is a really, really important category that we can do a lot more innovation in than we are at the moment. It tends to be kind of reserved to lines and packs, but there are so many ways to do out of home, and I think we should, we should really think about how we make that thing. Yes, it is a mass medium, but it's also one of the proudest and boldest media we've got. So I would love to see more interesting out of home. PR and media communication for me are, that is for me the next integrated campaign in terms of importance. Because everything that we do these days is PR and involves media, and I think those two categories for me are where I would love to see, the innovation and the exciting work coming out of.
Thank you. So thank you so much. And so I'm just trying to love technology. The screen's frozen at the moment, but I know you very kindly decided to spend the time with us today, and I know you've been busy with some other projects as well. I think just in terms of any parting words, is there anything else that you think is really important for people to keep top of mind as part of the entry process and what they should be doing?
Yeah, I mean, as much as we don't like to think of it in that way, was I a competition? And I think a lot of us do our work a disservice by going, the work is great, it should be able to shine on its own. But I think we need to give it the best chance to do that. And I think that's where we do our work a disservice. And just some of the things that I would urge agencies to do is go and look at the categories, go and look at the rules, go and look at those things, because the more you know them, the more chances you have of putting your work in just the right category for it, to do well. I think a lot of us look at the categories far too late down the line, and we usually enter in a hurry, and we kind of adopt a kind of spray wide approach. But I think one needs to be very strategic, just like you would with any campaign. You're putting this thing out. It's a piece of communication. You would never put a television advert just out there on TV to appear anytime between 10 in the morning and 8 at night. You choose who you're talking to, you choose what time you get to them. And I think you need to be very, very, very aware of the categories and the rules around categories. It will give you an advantage over people that don't do that.
Great. So how much time do we have with you? Because we have a few questions. Do you have some time for some questions and answers? I'm not too sure what time's your next meeting.
I can take some questions.
Fantastic. So let's have a look at this. So this is from Gustav Grefrat, who asks, thank you for some great insight. The question is, a film created specifically for digital platforms, does that go into digital or the film category? How do you rank this, especially as we go into this hybrid world where it was very easy once upon a time, it could have been digital, but do you look at it now as just digital, or is it the film category? Is it both maybe?
It is, I mean, I understand that question and we ask ourselves all the time. So it is, if it is intended specifically for digital mediums, I feel it should be in the digital categories because you are looking for something different. You're looking for something specific when you go onto digital mediums. People tend to throw everything that is video into the general film category. And what that means is you are competing with anything from $10 million or rand or kwacha or whatever the currency may be where you are from, the range is too big. So you want your horse to be in the right race, racing against horses that are of similar, I suppose, of similar attributes. Then you'll know that you've got a chance. So I would recommend that you be as specific as you can with your medium. Don't go through just the first gate. So yes, it's film, fine, but that means you've got 1,000 competitors. What's the next gate that you can go through? Because it will reduce the number of competitors you have. For as long as your idea still hits the five rules or metrics that the judges are looking for. You want to be very specific.
I love that. Actually, I love your analogy about the gates, because that generally is what you need to do, is how do you get to the next gate until eventually there's no one else left and you're number one. That's amazing. I think it's very useful insight. Another question is, how important are results? It's from Anonymous. I hear judges scoff when they see the regular 20 million views on YouTube in the case videos. I mean, how important are results?
I think results are important. Whether or not every jury dissects them depends on the category, number one, but it also depends on how important it is for results. I'll tell you where results are really important. When you get to awarding gold, silver, bronze, you do not want your idea to be a gold deserving idea and then be let down by results, because that will happen. That's where they really, really count, where you've got, the cream of the crop competing. That's when the 0.100000 passing of results happens. And you really want to make sure that your work stands a chance. Anything that you enter into creative awards, this is creativity to advance business. So we are assuming that there are results, because then it would mean your work was not effective. So we don't tend to scrutinize that too much until it comes to the wire. And you want to make sure that you've got the results to back your work.
I've got a really good question here from Bolaji Alasa, who asks, how brutal are you during the in and outs? I don't know if they mean specifically you as Tseliso or just in general, but how brutal are you, Tseliso, during the in and outs?
I think I'm fair. I think I'm fair. I've seen some brutal people. My view is, and I always, it's something that we try and encourage the judges to do is, if you feel that the work deserves to be looked at again, I would vote it in, especially in that in and out round. Obviously, we don't want to end up, we don't want to end up with as much stuff as we started with. But that first round is really to get rid of the stuff that we know doesn't stand a chance, so that we give the work that deserves to be spoken about, that deserves to be discussed, enough time for it to be discussed. So I tend to be fair. I tend to kind of, you know, be a little bit more accommodating and a little bit more, you know, a little less brutal, let me put it that way. But then when it comes to, you know, when it comes to scoring and talking about the work and discussing, that's when it becomes real, so to speak.
Which probably leads me into the next question I have, because in terms of discussions, because somebody's trying to get a bit more insight into terms of how the judging works. And they ask, and it's from Anonymous, is groupthink encouraged, or do judges award work individually?
That's a very good question. I'll say it depends. So it depends where in the judging process. Obviously, we want judges to judge without fear, and we want them to be able to score their work without influence, especially negative influence. So where there's group discussions, it's usually to talk work up and not to criticize work. And that's a very important thing to bear in mind. It's important that judges do confer and do kind of go, I've seen how this could work really nicely, or did you guys notice this about this case study? And that's important. At the end of the day, though, the judges score by themselves. And at Loeries, we don't even know what wins in terms of the final tally. So we don't know what gets gold, silver, or bronze. So we do discuss work if work needs to be spoken up.
Fantastic. Do you have time for a few more questions?
I'll take 3 more.
3, that's perfect. They'll be very happy because we've got lots of questions coming through for you, Tseliso. So here's one from Monara Matema, who's a senior associate architect at DNA Brand Architects. And the question is, in previous years, the overview video has been essential in giving judges a view of what an entry is all about. Will not submitting an entry overview video this year have a negative impact on the chances of an entry to win? And I think especially considering, I think this is obviously a concern for people. So how do you answer this, Tseliso?
I think it's up to us as the Loeries committee to be very clear with the judges that this year is going to be different, and appeal to them to look for ideas and the merits of ideas, the way they would do it in their own agencies without case studies. Because when you are in your own agency and somebody brings an idea to you, they don't have a case study for that idea. They've got the idea. And I think we need to be very, very fair. And it's something that the jury presidents are going to have, to really make sure that's the case. You are right. It's a very difficult thing because on the one hand, some people will be able to enter case studies, on the others won't. And I think we need to keep check on ourselves as judges and jury presidents, that we be fair to all the work that's been entered. And I think for that very reason, all the more reason for the people that enter to make sure that the entry boards, whatever other additional material that you can put in front of the judges so that they can get a sense of what the work is, will be to your advantage.
Fantastic. We're now getting a lot more technical. Susie Bowling, who's joined us, unfortunately has to leave. So Susie, thank you so much for being with us today as well.
Thank you, Tseliso. And guys, yeah, the entry deadline's the 15th of June, and we would love to see all your entries. So good luck, Nigeria, and everyone else on the call. So thank you.
Cheers, Susie. Thanks,
Susie. This is from Julia Beninka, who sent it earlier, but I'll read this one. Julia says, thank you. This has been inspiring. This is more of a technical one. So Tseliso, I don't know if this is something you're comfortable answering, but I mean, the question is on podcasts and the radio category. The idea is sold and produced. How many permissions do we need to get to actually enter it? So do you need to get, so clients is agreed, agencies agreed. Do you also need the production company and voiceover artist permission for it to be judged? I know Snare's got better insight on this in terms of anything, but I mean, is there anything that you'd like to add on this, Tseliso?
Yeah, that's very interesting, because typically with normal radio ads, you wouldn't even need the blessing of the the production company, because you have paid for the service, and if the production company, you can credit them, and you should. But in terms of a podcast, I would err on the side of getting the permission, just to make sure, because you never know, whether the people want to be on it or not. And if you win, your work will be on the interweb for everyone to see, and I'd much rather you don't attract lawsuits after that. Obviously, the client needs to know. And yeah, I mean, that is a very important distinction, because podcasts are kind of seen as, the way we approach podcasts is different. You're typically not getting somebody and paying them to be on a podcast, unless it is a performance-based one, in which case, if you've paid them, you've got every right to enter it without the permission. Yeah.
Fantastic. Kyle Kimmink, who's a freelancer, has a question that, and I think sure a lot of freelancers are curious about. And the question is, as someone who has started to freelance more because of the recent COVID-19 situation and working from home, I am curious how the Loeries judges go about judging freelance work compared to agency work, just because of the lack of resources and money that a freelancer will have by comparison. I, for example, work a lot with the music industry, like branding, cover art, and any collateral that goes around that. And I'm curious if it is something worth entering into the Loeries. What do you think, Tseliso?
I'd say enter it. I think, yeah, I mean, for me, I've seen work that has, been entered by freelancers winning at the Loeries. I think it helps if, and I may be giving you the wrong information, because I don't know in terms of what the criteria and the entry rules are, but I think it is possible to enter. There's a way to do it. And yeah, I'm gonna ask somebody that knows a lot more about this than me. But I know that I've seen a few freelancers, especially if you've got an I want to call it it's not an organization, but if you've got a what's the word? Not a company, but yeah, then at least it's not just your name, that's there. It makes it easier, and it also makes you not stand out as a freelancer, if I may put it that way. Because you've got an entity. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Great. How many times? Let me know in terms of your timing. I know you've been very busy, and I know you've got other meetings. So let me know. I've got lots of questions for you. You just let me know how much time. Can we go through another question and then you let me know?
Okay, I'll do 3 more questions.
Fantastic. So this is from Anthony Egbe, who asks, judges are always skeptical about work done by agencies for agencies. And this is understandable, but in recent times, agencies have started undertaking cause-based campaigns that do make a real impact online or in society. Will this work be skeptically overlooked or judged without bias? And that's from Anthony Egbe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should not be an issue. What I do know is that there are criteria and checks and balances that make sure that work that is entered by agencies for agencies goes through a certain there's a certain it's channeled in a different way. So for example, it's not fair to have work that is done for a big brand that, that clients had to be convinced over months, and it just takes a lot more effort on an agency's part to get that through, and that work is typically very difficult. But for agencies to do their own work, they've got the resources, they've got the time, they can pretty much choose what idea it is. So to get to that idea is not as arduous a process. So we have to be fair, but in the room, judges love creative work. And, even if one wanted to be biased against an idea, that thing, the creative person in us overrides that. I mean, when an idea is great, I'd much rather go, damn it, I wish I had done that. But I'll acknowledge that it's an awesome idea. So from that respect, I think, one shouldn't fear. And also, I think our industry is not so big that we are not, we don't know typically which agency did what work. So we do know when we're in there that, okay, this work was done by that agency because we know that the client is with that agency. And we try and be fair anyway, So work that is done by agencies, I think we want to encourage agencies to do more of that stuff because we need to have a voice as agencies. So personally, I encourage that. And I think in the room, the other judges will agree that if that idea is great, then it will be voted on favorably.
Great. Another question from Linda and Waizu, but maybe I'm going to rephrase this question a little bit. But the question itself reads: for the print category, is it compulsory to submit a hard copy this year? I think the undertone is obviously a little concern in terms of submission of physical work during COVID-19. One of the things that we're working on is we're getting UV sterilizers to clean all physical work if we go down that process. But maybe to rephrase this question, Tseliso, what if we do get to a point where, a print category, for example, where the physical work cannot be submitted? Will the digital work be judged in exactly the same way, or will there be something taken out from that process and that experience?
These questions are getting harder the more I agree to stay longer.
I know. I told you they're getting more technical. Everyone now went, let's go really deep down into the technical stuff. And I'm happy I don't have to answer it. So I just go, Tseliso, I'll read it and you do all the hard work.
Yeah. Look, I mean, with COVID-19, that is a very good point. I think the hard copy will always show up better than a digital version. It gets over two hurdles. Firstly, it gets over the did this actually run hurdle, which we believe that it did, but it's always nice to see it in the paper that it ran in, as well as a printout of the work itself. The other reason is that a lot of the print and poster work is actually quite tactile, and the judges love to put their hands on the thing and kind of look at one corner and kind of take it in. So the craft comes out better, and you are able to have a better connection with a judge if there's a physical thing. I know it's weird, but trust me, that's somehow there's something about the tactility that makes people connect better with the work. In the case of us, being in the state of a global pandemic, we would obviously have to, take measures to make sure that, when judges do go around touching pieces of work, they don't spread things around. I'm sure we'll figure out a way to do it without endangering anybody. Yeah, so I hope that answers the question.
That's fantastic. And just to add from our side, one of the things that we're doing is, other than regular hygiene setup that we have and that we've putting protocols into place, we're also investing behind UV sterilizers. So it doesn't diminish the work anyway. There's no chemical use, but it denatures any viruses. So these are the kind of levels that we as the Loeries are going to in terms of investigation to make sure it's safe for the entrant and for judges as well to be involved in this process. A question from Jane Equera, who says, fantastic session, firstly, and then goes, I understand a lot of things better than I used to. The question is there a place for experiential marketing, please? So in terms of experiential marketing, Tseliso, what have you seen, and is there still a place for it to be entered?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is still part of the Loeries category.
Mm-hmm.
It may be under activations. It may be under, the broader out of home category. I think experiential is important, and it's getting more and more important because it is a point of contact with the consumer, and absolutely, as far as I know, it is still a category within the Loeries.
And another question, and it's a longer one. It goes from Kyle Kimming. As a designer, I use a lot of the skills I have to create work for myself, like posters, for example. And the work I do for myself, and specifically for myself, has been a huge part of the reason I get approached for freelance work. It's a more creative expression and experimentations with contemporary design than it is something that was made for the specific consumer or something that drives any social change. I am wondering if this is something that is typically considered by Loeries judges, and if the quality of the design craft alone in this example is something that can be awarded. Lastly, if it is something that is worth entering, where would it potentially fit into the awards? Told you they were getting harder.
I think if you look at what the Loeries is trying to do, and I know I'm sounding like a politician, but I'm just trying to give a fair answer while frantically thinking what to say. Because we are an intersection of creativity and business and industry, it is important that work has a client. And I struggle to see how we would justify awarding a piece of work that was self-originated, because typically what we're looking for is how work solves a business problem or a social problem for a brand. So an agency can enter something because an agency is a brand, and what they put out there builds their brand, sometimes damages, but mainly builds their brand. So I don't know if design for the art of it, is something that we would look at. We would find it very difficult to justify awarding it.
I agree. I think unfortunately one of the challenges is in terms of the context of what the Loeries is, that would be a big challenge. Last question, actually. So here we go. It's from Daniel Navarro, and Daniel asks, hi everyone, thank you for the insights. Question, for the young creatives category, what is the difference in the importance to the actual campaign from the agency or the involvement from the young creative? As many top level agencies have been involved in campaigns that may be difficult to compete with compared to small agencies. Daniel, if I'm understanding your question correct, and you can type it and rephrase it, but I think so the question really is in terms of the young creatives category. How does somebody who wants to enter the young creatives category justify that this is something that they've really impacted and therefore it's worthy of them entering it, versus saying like, hey, there's so many different people involved from the agency that they don't really have enough ownership to actually enter this work? How do you actually gain that ownership or gain that position of being able to say, I do have a moral high ground or right to actually enter this piece of work in?
Is this back at the agency, or is this?
Yeah, from the agency, because I think if you look at it in the agency environment, any piece of work that's created really has so many different people. There's so many different hands involved. And because of the young creatives category, the young creatives are trying to understand, how do I understand if I can enter this and have ownership of this work? Or am I overreaching and now claiming work that's mine and entering it into a Loeries category, when in fact, there's lots of other people who did a lot more in it? How do we make that distinction? Is there any advice you have in this space?
Okay, so firstly, I feel that if you feel that your contribution to that work was sufficient and actually led to that work being the way that it is, then you should enter it. If you're not sure, then you can't defend it. And the way it works, well, with the agencies I've been with, is that when somebody wants to enter Young Creatives, they will go and speak to the creative director and tell them that they want to enter this piece of work. Usually the creative directors don't have a problem with it. In fact, the ones that I've, the ones that I know and myself, actually motivate for that person, to get the award. And most creative directors will want to help you. I think you do need to involve them just so that you've got somebody senior backing your effort. And yeah, I mean, it's the same with having credit on work. If the work has your name on it, I think it means that you have contributed sufficiently to that work to have your name on it. And the rest is really, getting somebody, a senior creative person, to back your entry for you.
And I think that's the best advice you can give, really. It's a consultation, isn't it? It's a consultative process. If you want to enter and you're not sure, speak to the people you're close to and understand if you can enter it. And that's it for our questions. I think there's one comment from Tupoko Malamoja, who says, "Hi guys, is it possible to get a recording of this emailed in order to share the rest of our coworkers who can tune in?" Definitely, we're going to load this up onto YouTube so that you can view it on the Loeries YouTube side. Tseliso, thank you so much for your time and for all the great insights. Our next part of this, Tseliso, is we're going to hand over to Sneh, and Sneh's going to do the actual granular how to enter bits of it and going through the system, which I think is which you know very, very well, and you've spent a lot of time on the system as well.
Absolutely.
And good luck. It was really a pleasure spending time with you today. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Sudhi. So I appreciate all the insights, and I'm sure everyone appreciated it. All the best with the meetings. I know you gave up some time in a meeting to be with us. Really appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thanks, Sudhi. Cheers. Thanks, everyone. So our next part, we've got another 20-odd minutes left in our session for today. I'm going to hand over to Sneh Khumalo. Sneh is an expert in terms of the Loeries entry system. And other than understanding all the technical stuff, the next important thing is really understanding how to get your entries in. So Sneh, over to you. Please feel free to go through. And if you have any questions for Sneh, please use the Q&A function and I'll pass it on to her as well. Sneh, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Preetesh. And I would also like to thank Tseliso, who is our Loeries Chairman and also Chief Creative Officer at FCB. Thank you so much for your time, Tseliso. It was lovely having you part of the session today. Okay, I am just going to share my screen so that you can see our website as I'll be taking you through just the how to enter journey. Okay, can you see my screen now?
No, I cannot see your screen. I'm seeing you.
Okay, let's just do that again.
There we go. That's perfect. Can see your screen right now.
Awesome. So what we see here is the Loeries website where all the magic happens. So you would just go onto the Loeries website. Obviously, you'd go onto the Enter Now button. So you'd click onto Enter Now. And thereafter, you'll just be presented with some tabs. And what would be of interest to you is sort of just the categories. You would just go through the categories depending on the work that you've prepared to enter. So here we have just effective creativity. If you click on effective creativity, you will see everything that you need to know about submitting an entry into the effective creativity category. Okay. And then, so at this point, you would have already decided sort of where to place your entry, because maybe you would have been engaged by either one of the members in the production team in terms of the entry material. Maybe you would want us to review the entry material and maybe just offer some guidance as to where, like the best category for that entry. We are available to do that. So if you do have any questions, or you're sitting with some content and you're wondering where to best place it, you can just shoot an email to info@Loeries, and then we'll be able to assist you further with any queries that you may have. Cool. And thereafter, you would just have to go on to your profile by logging in. So you would type in your credentials. Let's just go there. So that is my login info. So logging in takes you to a page where you will select the categories that you want to enter. Let's just say in this case, I'm entering out of home. So I'll click on out of home. Do not mind the figures that you see on the right. I would like to highlight that in support of the brand communication industry this year, the Loeries have 0 rated all of the entry fees. Yeah, so don't worry about the figures that you see there. Okay, so under out of home, just before I go into that, under out of home, you'll see that we have subcategories within each of our categories. So out of home, depending on how your work flighted, you will choose between either outdoor media, in-store, transit and air, direct mail, and ambient. It is very important that you consider the subcategory just well, so that the judges, as per Tseliso, so that the judges are looking at your work the way that you would have wanted them to judge it. So just for argument's sake, I'm going to go into outdoor media and assume that I had a billboard that went up a little bit of, like some time ago. And then what will pop up is the required media screen that will tell you what media is required for that category. As you can see here, so you have the media type and the requirements. So JPEG for judging, which is sort of mandatory, your original content video, which is optional, overview video, which is optional. And I would like to highlight that just in support of the industry, we do understand that in COVID, there have been time constraints, budget constraints. So overview videos this year, explainer videos, case study videos are not mandatory for any category. So you can submit that as an optional if you have it. And then thereafter, you would just click on continue. And then you will be presented with a screen with an entry form that you need to complete, so that we have all of these details on our side just to assist in the processing stage. So note that the fields marked with an asterisk are details that you would have to fill in before moving on. So I will just, for the purpose of this webinar, I will just call that test 1, brand test 2, product test 3, and then sector, I'll say advertising, communication, language. If it did air in English, obviously you'll just say English. And then if it was in any other language, you will select that language and then also submit subtitles, because all non-English entries must include English translations, because we have a very wide demographic of judges that will be looking at your work. So just make sure that if you do submit anything that is in a language other than English, you do also submit subtitles, whether in your JPEG or in your videos, or so all of that stuff. So that's covered. And then public service charity, yes or no. And it's just important to note that the Loeries define public service and charities as work that is carried out for any charitable, welfare, or public service organizations such as SPCA, Arrive Alive, religions, etc. And then self-promotion, yes, no. Self-promotion relates to agency self-promotional work. A brand may enter its own in-house work, and this is not considered self-promotion, e.g. a car company may enter its own marketing program. And then it is also very important to note that a self-promotional piece of work cannot be awarded anything higher than a gold. So it will get silver all the way down, but it will not be awarded anything higher than a gold. So in this case, because my piece of work is not public service or charity, and neither is it self-promotion, so I'll click no. And then if it is part of a campaign, I will say that it is, and then campaign name, so I'll say test 4. Number of entries in the campaign. If my billboard had a few other elements, I will say that I had maybe say 4 pieces in the campaign, in that out-of-home campaign. And then I will obviously just say that this is piece number 1 in that campaign, right? And then your description, you can always complete at a later stage. This is just a write-up blurb of your entry. And then once that has been filled in, you will tick the complete box. And then your credits, very important to note, is that the credits are sort of, I cannot stress enough that credits have to be completed as meticulously as possible, because this is what informs our rankings, okay? But you will get a chance to sort of fix credits at a later stage should there be a need, but just make sure that your credits are as accurate as possible, because this goes into our rankings and so forth. Okay, I will just assume that all of that has been completed, and I will click the complete box and I will say save and continue. Okay,
so I think that's useful. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I think that's what's useful. It's like all of the information you need to put in. The beauty of it is stuff that you already have. And especially in this year, it's really all about ensuring that you've completed the information in terms of ensuring the right credits, having the right content. And the beauty of it is I think most of you already have this information. There's no additional work that needs to be done.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Preetesh. And then the next screen, after just completing your entry form and all of the credits, you will be presented with a screen where you will upload the entry material, your media that you are linking to this entry. This is the media that will be seen and judged by the jury. So you will go to link or remove media in the highlighted pink rectangle, as you can see. This will take me to a location on my laptop where I will choose where the media is sitting, and I will choose sort of the JPEG or the video that I'm uploading to this. So I'll just click on add files. And then I'll be taken, as I said, to a location on my computer. And then just randomly, I will select a JPEG and a video. Okay, 2 JPEGs and a video. Right, while those are loading, it is important that when you do select a JPEG, as you would have seen in the media requirements pop up, it is important that you select the media type that JPEG is, just for the category's sake. So for out of home, because it is judged sort of electronically, we will select JPEG for judging. If under normal circumstances, if this was print or design, if it was a print or design category, I would have selected JPEG copy of 2D board, not for judging, because in print and design, if I'm submitting a hard copy material, the electronic copy is just a visual reflection of what the physical board looks like, you know? So in this case, because it's out of home and it's an electronic category, I will select JPEG for judging. I will do the same for my other JPEG. And then for the video, depending on what it is, depending on whether it's an original content video or an overview video or video 30-second edit for the award show, I will select between, depending on what that video is there, I will select, so in this case, I'll say this is, let's assume that this is an original content video. I will select that, and, or let's just make it overview, because it is optional in this case. So I'll say start upload. This may take a bit of time, depending on obviously the size of the videos that you're submitting. What I would like to highlight while my content is uploading is that what you need to make sure of, and I know that just a few people overlook this, is the specifications in the for the media. So the JPEGs have to be a certain spec. They have to be like, the height has to be a certain spec. The width has to be a certain spec. The same goes for the videos. The videos have to be a certain spec. Sort of in terms of frame rates and frame sizes and all of that. Just make sure that you do adhere to the rules according to the specifications, so that you don't have any errors just with uploading your material. If one of the JPEGs or the videos here was not the correct specification, I would have gotten an error on the screen, which I'm sure some of our viewers are familiar with. So yeah, if all of your JPEGs on your videos are as per the specifications, you should not have a problem. So you would just go to Manage Media. And that will take you to sort of your media library. This now creates a gallery sort of for you where all your media is sitting. And as you can see that there's little white ticks in yellow boxes from all of the stuff that I just uploaded. So the system sort of preempts that is what you are linking to that entry. If it isn't, you will just untick, but should that be the case, that you'll keep all of your media ticked, and then you'll click on Update Entry. And then you're presented with the screen that says basically just a summary of all the stuff that you have uploaded. And what is important to know on the screen is you can sort of shift your media and place it in the order that you want the judges to sort of see it. So if, say, I wanted the overview video to appear first, so that is what the judges see on our Loeries player. So I would keep that there. If maybe I wanted a JPEG to be the first thing that the judges see on the player, I would just click on that button and move it up like that. As you can see, it jumped from being number 2. It swapped places with the video. The video is now in the middle. But I want, because this is the case study video, and that is what I would like the judges to see first, I will go and push that back up. And as you can see, my overview video / case study has just moved to number 1 on the list. So I'll just say complete, and then I'll say save and continue. And thereafter, you'll see that your dashboard has been populated with all of the columns that you filled in earlier on the entry form. So my credits, I know that my credits are filled in or completed, and so is my description. I've linked all my media, and I have uploaded a signed confirmation form that is signed by either the ECD or CEO or equivalent in that agency or organization. Okay. At this point, my entry is still sitting in the incomplete status. What you can do while your entry is in incomplete is you can tick it there, and then you can sort of check out. Okay, when you're checking out, you will notice that it'll bring up the fee, and then it'll minus it at the bottom. Okay, so you'll see that it's all 0 rated, and it's quoted with the hashtag Beyond COVID Initiative, and the total will be 0. Cool, and then you'll say save and continue. A copy of an invoice will be automatically emailed for you to you, just for the sake of, I mean, under normal circumstances, if you were paying for your entries at this point, I think you would forward that invoice to your finance department, and they would do the necessary. And yeah. Okay, so the special forms, the PDFs that you see here, your entry summary basically has, if you submitted 50 entries, your entry summary will have all of those entries listed. Or entry labels, this is for all physical material. Entry labels are stuck on the back of your board when submitting physical material. Package labels are what goes onto the actual package. Once you've stuck the entry label on each of your individual boards or your 3D pieces or whatever it is that you're submitting, you will just sort of bubble wrap or seal your boards nicely, and then after that you will sort of on the box or on the brown paper that you've wrapped all your entries with, you will then stick your package label. And then the entry confirmation, I've gone into detail with explaining what that is, so I'll just save and continue. Okay, so I will say proceed to offline payments. Okay, and then let me
Sorry,
go
the
back to
screen's
my,
just, the screen may look a little bit fuzzy. It's looking fuzzy on my side. I'm not too sure if it's fuzzy on anyone else's side as well. But I think it's a good overview there as well. So just in case it's a little bit fuzzy on the side.
okay,
It's
cool.
always the connection. The network's always a bit crazy.
Yeah, true. It just keeps jumping. As you can see here, we also have a very interactive 1 minute sort of video on our site as well as on our YouTube page. I can paste the link to that video in our chats just after this presentation, where you can just go onto our YouTube page and then watch that video at the leisure of your own time. Let me now go back into my entries dashboard since I've completed the checkout stage. All that's fine. And now at this point, when all of your media has been completed, your description has been completed, credits and all of that, media uploaded, entry confirmation submitted, and once sort of your invoice has reconciled on our side, the status will go from incomplete to finalize. And then once we've reconciled again, it'll change from finalized to outstanding payments. And then once everything is sort of all sorted, we're all happy, it'll change to submitted. And then once it has been processed on our side, it'll change to complete. And then you'll be sent a confirmation email saying that your entry is good to go. And good luck. Yeah.
That's it. Thank you so much, Sneh. I think
Easy
here's the
peasy.
key thing. It is. I think whenever it comes to entry systems like this, you do tend to find that a lot of people get scared off by the system. And I think what's amazing is this is fantastic training to be able to understand how the system works. And the system will also give you better insight in terms of what the judges are looking for. So please, as you get your entries in, go and be part of it. And remember, you don't need to do everything at one go. I'd recommend that, you go in and you do your first part and maybe come with the next day with the rest of the stuff. But do complete your entries quickly. Remember, they still need to be processed post this. So that is it from our side for today. I think one of the key things I just want to do is thank you all for joining us. Also, a very, very big thank you to Adenike Adefila from VQI Communications, who's the Loeries partner in Nigeria and assists with entries. So if any of you know Adenike, please also feel free to reach out to Adenike Adefila at VQI Communications. If you do need our assistance, go to www.loeries.com. All of our contact details are there, and we've got the entire processing team ready and willing to help you. This chat will also be available on YouTube. So if you do need to go back and have a look at it again, go onto YouTube in a few days and it'll be available there. Thank you so much, Sneh, for your time and for assisting us with all those queries. Also, a very big thank you to Tseliso for joining us and for sharing all of those insights as well. And thank you to all of you as well. Thank you so much, Nigeria, for being part of Loeries Nigeria Week. Tomorrow we conclude by chatting to His Excellency Tami Mseleku, who will be sharing more insights about his experience in Abuja in terms of learning and training and thinking and the importance of creativity and working across the continent to ensure we build a strong African continent based on creativity. So thank you once again and all the best and have a good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank
Goodbye.
you, everyone. Bye.